What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's the final thoughts-ish video. I say ish because, look, I'm an FPL manager, I'm human, I change my mind, and I might change my mind before the deadline. But I think there's a few key issues around Chelsea defenders, obviously Liverpool defenders. Now Trent Alexander-Arnold has been ruled out. What to do with him? I still haven't hit the wildcard button. Looking at my team, it's probably pretty close, and people might want to know what my current thinking is. And obviously, I'll have the deadline stream tomorrow anyway. But I'm just going to do another one of these one-take videos. You seem to like them. They've been doing well over the last couple of weeks. So if you do enjoy them, give them a like. Hit that subscribe button as well if you're new around here. Like I said, we're just going to one-take it, right? So this is my team as it stands. Now, Luke Shaw has not been ruled out, and he's not been ruled in either. What I will say is he has been pictured in training. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says he kind of feels better in himself about the illness, but he did go on to say that he's still got this shoulder injury. He didn't, from what I can see, he didn't really go into too much detail about, you know, how far away he is and stuff like that. I think it's something like he's got a decision to make. So he could be available. I got to be honest, the way that Solskjaer talks about players, the fact that Luke Shaw has been in training, I would be very surprised if he doesn't play now. That's not to say that I'm 100% confident that you should base all your decisions around it. And we will likely will. If you can be awake before the deadline, I'm quite certain we will get some kind of leaked team news, hopefully for me, about Luke Shaw and Greenwood. I'm fairly confident that Ronaldo will play. But if Luke Shaw plays, then I'm kind of happy to own him for one more week. I know people disliking the Man United defence and stuff like that, but if you look at kind of underlying numbers, Man United defence was already one of the best ones last year, and this year they're already in top 5 for expected goals conceded. I know there's like some debate to be had versus the stats in the eye test, and you know, when you watch Man United, they do look like they've got a mistake in them, and they have kind of done all season. Like Varane hasn't really... He's been really good, you know, in his own right, but he's not made the defence like watertight by any stretch, right? So they're still, defensive stats are still looking good, and I think the fact that Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin are going to miss out for Everton does help. It doesn't mean that Everton haven't got players that can hurt Man United, but I think if Shaw is likely to start, then it's almost as good as anyone this week. Obviously, Chelsea defenders are better and Man City defenders are better from next week. But this week, Man United and Liverpool play each other. Manchester City and Liverpool play each other. So I think having to play Shaw one more week is fine, especially if it helps you make other decisions, right? You can always get rid of him next week. I'm not saying you have to keep him long term. And if I look at the rest of my team, like Rafinha, Sarr, Salah, Antonio, Jimenez, and I would argue Ronaldo as well, they're not massive concerns to me this week at all. Greenwood possibly, if he doesn't start, then that might make me hit the wild card. But at this point in time, I feel like the only thing that can make me wild card now is even if Luke Shaw is ruled out, I don't think it will make me wildcard, but you never know. And I think anyone that's kind of saying like it's going to be a last minute stress, like I already know exactly what wildcard team I will go for. I'm not that stupid just to wait until Saturday and then have a look at it. So I know what I'll go for already. But if Shaw is fine, then Trent out to a Chelsea defender, which we'll come on to in just a second. I think that's all I need to do. Like, is Veltman plus 4 points better than a Chelsea defender? Probably is. I don't know if it's worth taking an additional hit for Ayling just to not play Veltman. I'll probably just play both of them and hope that Bissouma's back, because that will obviously help a little bit with the defence, because he's such a good central defensive midfielder. I'd say Bissouma's actually a bit more... Is he box to box? He probably isn't, but he does break up the play quite well. So I'm hoping he's back. And Greenwood, is not a long-term pick. Like, I wouldn't be buying him now. I wouldn't include him on a wildcard team. But he's okay if he's going to start one more game against Everton for me. If he doesn't start, then that might force me to wildcard. But the rest of the attackers, I just don't see too many issues with. And plus, I've already missed most of the price rises and price falls this week anyway. And again, a lot of people say you should have just hit the button earlier in the week. But I wanted more information. And like I kept saying, if you bring Man City players in this week, it's unlikely that they improve your team because they're playing Liverpool. And it's all well and good saying I can take Sarr out for Saka, but who really cares about that? Or Sarr out for Mbeumo. I'm pretty happy with Sarr this week. The other big thing for me is as well, because a lot of you are probably thinking about on wildcard, is Jimenez is such a big factor for me. Because if I keep Jimenez, I don't think I can fit Grealish into my team. And therefore, the only real changes I would make to this attack are probably Greenwood and Sarr. and neither of them really have to go this week. You could make a case for getting rid of Greenwood, but again, it's not a priority for me if I'm not wildcarding. So I don't know if changing 2 attackers for a wildcard team is big enough, and I don't want to force myself to go for Grealish just because I want to make more changes on a wildcard. Like, I'm really happy to own Jimenez this week. Like, he's even my vice captain. And in defence, of course, I would have 2 Chelsea defenders, but I'd probably buy a Man City one, right? And them against Liverpool, again, I can see Liverpool scoring in that game, right? They are one of the best attacks in the league, so it's going to be difficult for Man City. So I just don't think there's enough there. And also, there are some benefits to saving the wild card. One, you know what's going to happen with Trent Alexander-Arnold. So I can take him out this week, knowing that next week I could wildcard and bring him back in. And if he's not available, I could just go without him, right? So that's one key thing. I think the other thing, it would be big in Game Week 8 if Reece James was past fit, because I think people wildcarding this week can't really go for him because he's not going to play. And if you go for Alonso or Chilwell, I don't think you would be massively confident about them continuing to get starts. So for me, if you're wildcarding this week and you're going for a Chelsea defender or defenders, I think it has to be Azpilicueta and Rudiger. Like, you could go for Alonso, you could go for Chilwell, but you do that knowing it's probably a little bit of a punt. I don't think there's many confident Alonso owners out there right now who think 100% that he's going to start because of what happened in the last game. Chilwell comes on for 45 minutes. I mean, I think it's a bit harsh to say that Alonso hasn't played well the last couple of games. They were against Man City and Juventus, right? He hasn't just suddenly turned into a bad defender compared to the first few games. They were just a slightly easier fixtures. Not completely easier, but a little bit easier. So I don't think it's completely out of the question that Alonso starts against Southampton, but there's also got to be a chance now that Chilwell starts. Like, most Chelsea fans think that it's sooner rather than later that Chilwell gets a start. It might not be this week, but it could be from next week. So if you're on a wildcard, I think it has to be Azpilicueta and Rudiger. You could go for Christensen. He started 5 out of 6. You could save some money, but I just feel like over the span of kind of 8 to 10 games, which is what you might keep Chelsea defenders for, Azpilicueta and Rudiger just feel a little bit safer if, like, they're not really that exciting. I get that. So for me, I'm probably going to sell Trent. I think I have to bring a Chelsea defender in. There isn't enough upside for any other defender. I think Cresswell possibly, maybe Semedo as well you could look at, but I'm going to go for a Chelsea defender. And unless I get any info, which I don't think we're going to find on Twitter, because if the game was at 12:30, it might be a bit different, but it's at 3 o'clock, I think, on Saturday. If I knew Chilwell or Alonso would definitely start, and they would 100% be my transfer in this week for Trent. But as it stands, I'm probably going to go for Azpilicueta and hope that he plays right wing back and just hope that he can get some kind of attack and return. And then I'm probably going to leave the rest of the team as it is. If Shaw and Greenwood were both out, I'm probably going to wildcard. It's just that Jimenez versus Grealish thing. I think you could make a case for Grealish. His underlying numbers are good. The fixtures coming up are good. We know Man City are going to score plenty of goals, so he's got a good chance of being involved in those goals. Even though there's lots of other players that can score as well, his individual numbers are good. I just think with Jimenez, I know whenever the team sheet comes out for Wolves, unless there's an injury, he will be on it and he will play 90 minutes. And I know that Grealish has started every single game so far for Man City. I think it might even be every single game, like in all competitions, close to, if not. But in the back of my mind, I still know this is Pep Guardiola. I don't care that he costs like £100 million or whatever crazy figure it was in the end. At some point, he probably will get a rest. And I just don't see Jimenez getting that. So I don't know if I'm even confident enough to go to Grealish, and therefore I wouldn't make enough changes for this team. So if you're on Chelsea fans, I've kind of already talked about it. If you want to go Alonso or Chilwell, do it. I don't think you can go for Reece James, so it kind of defaults to Azpilicueta and Rudiger. The other thing is on Trent. So Klopp has said he hopes to have him back after the international break, so that would be for Watford. That kind of tells me that even if he misses Watford, he should be back for the game week after. So he's not got a long-term injury. So for those on wildcard, I haven't really changed my opinion too much. When I did the video originally, we didn't have that info. But I haven't really changed my opinion too much. I think if you're wildcarding, I'm not sure I would have Trent on the bench. I don't think I would do that. But I would probably have enough money to get him back. And by doing that, you've probably gone for 2 Chelsea and 2 Man City defenders like everybody else, right? So by doing that, if he doesn't play against Watford or he's a doubt, you've got 4 good defenders with good fixtures, and then you don't even need to worry about him for the game afterwards because it's Man United. And I know a lot of people say Liverpool much better, yada yada yada. I get it, right? If you're going to put money on, you'd probably bet on Liverpool beating Man United in most scenarios. but it doesn't mean Man United can't score. Trent loses his clean sheet. Yes, he's got attacking potential, but it's not going to be as high against a team like Man United. So you don't need to worry him about that. And then you might even keep him a bit longer. So I definitely wouldn't own him, but I would consider having enough money in the bank. And if you are someone that's used their wildcard or they're not planning on using the wildcard soon, I think you can absolutely make a case to keep him. Like if this team, let's just say all my defenders were fit here and I wasn't thinking of wildcard. I know it's easy to say if they're all fit, they're not. I would just play Shaw, Ayling and Veltman probably and just bench Trent for next week. And if he's back versus Watford, happy days. Like you're really happy to own him for that fixture. But I just think if you look at the fixtures, you can make a case to not own him on wildcard, I think, because you just hope that he misses Watford and then you maybe get him back for game week 10. I just think if you don't bank that money, you might get a few more points in the short term, possibly, because you've spent that elsewhere. So you'd hope by the extra spend you'll get a few more points. But it's just eventually it's going to cost you 2 transfers to get him back. And he is the best defender in the game, right? We can talk about Alonso all we want. But if you're like me, you're worried about his minutes now going forward. You just don't have that concern with Trent. He just doesn't miss out very many games at all. Like Nico Williams can play there. Milner's obviously playing there right now, but it's not who Klopp wants to play there. We know, like I think Robertson's at more of a risk because Simicast's actually been really good when he's played. Klopp's even said that. They don't have that same kind of backup on the right. Like Milner's done really well, don't get me wrong, but the attacking like extra benefit that Trent gives is just too good for Liverpool. So I think you can make a case to get rid of him this. If you're wildcarding in game week 8, you can definitely get rid of Trent this week. I don't know if there's any major things that came out today, really. Mount's back fit, so he could be an option now, especially if you're wildcarding. But I just think double Chelsea defence and Lukaku just looks so good right now. I know it's template, but you're always going to get these situations when lots of people are wildcarding at the same time. If you're only going for 3 Man City and Chelsea defenders, you could make a case to go double City defence and 1 Chelsea defender, probably Rudiger, to be honest, and then have Mason Mount. But I don't know. If you think about that slot, a lot of people are going for Grealish. I mean, to be honest, I think there's a chance next week I might wildcard in game week 8, and I think there's a good chance that Jota starts. I might actually just go for him, right? Because I won't have Simicast anymore, and it's Watford away. And okay, maybe he doesn't start or doesn't get many points against Man United, but he's just so good when he plays. And we shouldn't really forget that he has started a lot of matches this season. And you can say that's because of Firmino injuries, etc. But he's done well as well, right? And he was starting at the start of the season too. And his fitness isn't a concern or anything like that. I think he is going away for the international break. So we'll have to see what happens. But I think on the game week, I just think there's... I'm not saying anyone should delay the wildcard from 7 to 8 because most of you have played it anyway. But there's just a few things that are going to be good for Game Week 8 wildcarders. Jota possibly, having a bit more information about Chelsea defenders, especially the fullbacks. Just little things like that could be the subtle difference. Knowing about Trent as well. Like if he misses Watford, you definitely want to go without him. Although you could do that as well Game Week 7. But if he's back... and you wildcard in Game Week 8, you can just put him straight in. So I think there are some benefits to going Game Week 8, but I do think with all these injury concerns, the advantages of holding have gotten less and less. And if I'm completely honest, in hindsight now, it probably was worth wildcarding at the start of the week because I would overhaul my defence completely and I could just make those couple of midfield changes, whether or not I keep Jimenez or not. But right now, I think I'm just going to sell Trent. Anyway, that's it for Friday night. That is me done until the deadline stream tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed that. It's just kind of thinking out loud. I haven't got any notes or anything. I'm just talking off the cuff, one edit type of thing. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a like. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to check out Patreon as well. Link in the description below. If you get signed up before the deadline, you'll be able to get into the mini league for October. Even if you don't get the mini league code before the deadline, as long as you're signed up on Patreon before the deadline, I'll get it to you for next week as well. Obviously, there's international breaks, so there's plenty of time to get it. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Good luck with your tinkering. Hopefully, I try to cover a lot of what you're all thinking about. If not, deadline stream tomorrow. I'll see you there.